Hello everyone, this is NS Alters, and today I'll be showing you how I painted some custom art onto this Isamaru. So we'll start by masking off the areas where we don't want the paint to go, because we will be putting primer over everything. So once we have the tape down, we use our liquid latex to just seal off the edges, wait for that to dry, and then we can go take it to the primer. And always using a nice neutral gray here so that we can put on our details on an even surface. So I made this mock-up. Here's the reference photo that the client gave me for this commission. And once I have it fitted to the card, I can layer it onto some graphite paper and trace the frame of the image onto the card. There's not a lot of details in that initial tracing, but it does help just make sure that the proportions are correct. So they requested that the background around the dog be sort of like a stained glass effect. So starting off with the border, and then you could see that I did lines radiating out from the center of the dog's face. So we have the stained glass shapes all cut out, and it's a little hectic once they're all there. But because the framing lines of the stained glass all radiated from the same point, it gives a subtle halo effect once everything is said and done. So now we're just painting in all the colors. I did end up going around and doing several layers of colors so that it gets nice and solid. You can see that here. So now that the glass shards are painted in, we're just going to do the rest of the parts of the stained glass. And we'll kind of just let that go by nice and fast. Alright, so now that we have the background kind of all done out in just plain flat colors, I decided to start working on the actual puppy himself. So when doing these types of detailed paintings, I like to start with the shadows. The contrast helps keep my mind focused, and also the darker colors kind of show through as you apply more and more layers, and it's easy to stay on track without losing your place. Now that we have the shadows down, we can start blocking in some other colors. This entire time I'm ensuring that I never really let the paint dry as much as I can, so it helps with blending. Now with painting hair, you generally want to get the overall tone laid down, and then you're going to be layering on highlights, getting brighter and brighter and brighter until you essentially use the very last highlight, which will be a bright white. And in between those highlights, you can kind of go back and also push the shadowy values, mixing in some darker colors. But you can see what I'm talking about here as I start rendering out the foot. So the base color is still in the background, but then those really light beige colors, working as the first few layers of highlights, add in some details. So ensuring that I just stay consistent, I kind of move around the puppy, painting different parts, going back to old parts, because I don't want to work on one area too long and then work on a different area and then, realize that I've kind of fallen into a different pattern or technique. So jumping around keeps the entire picture consistent and also stops my mind from getting stuck on one area and falling into a tunnel vision. Another important detail while working with acrylics is that they tend to dry kind of desaturated. So you might, apply the wet paint and it looks nice and colorful, but then it dries and it looks a little gray. So one thing that you'll see me doing multiple times throughout this, and I do a final pass at the end, is I'll water down one of the more saturated colors, like the golden brown, or I do a little bit of red closer to the end, and just making it really watered down like a watercolor paint, and just washing it over, especially over the highlights. Because if you can put a consistent wash over an entire area that has lots of values and details in it, then it kind of brings everything down and makes it feel more connected. And then you can go back over top of that again, doing more highlights, and bring back out those really sharp, bright spots. So I was pretty happy with the puppy so far. Obviously, the details aren't done, But again, just for my sanity, I wanted to get a little further along with the stained glass. So using a very fine tipped pen, I just traced out all those edges. And now I'm going to go through and do some highlighting on the stained glass section. You can see I just picked that the light is going to come from the top left corner, sort of matching the lighting on the picture of the dog itself. And then we just quickly went through and highlighted all the shards. So I skipped ahead there, and now we're back to rendering out the fur on the left side of the dog. You can really see that here. I'm kind of doing passes of highlights and washes, especially on the ears here. You'll see like there's some thicker white lines on the right, and then later on you'll see I blend them back down into a brown. But that's enough explanations for now. So just enjoy the rest of the video and see if you can pick out any of the techniques that I mentioned thus far. So now that we're done doing the details on the puppy, we're just going to take our little plastic pick and scrape away at the places where we went over the edges, cleaning up the text box and the power toughness. The last step is then to sign my initials. And there it is, one Isamaru, ready to be such a good boy. Who's a good boy? If you like this video, please consider subscribing, or if you want to see me alter a specific card, leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.